to show you now, this is what I don't want you to do. I'm going to take a little soup can of water, about that much, and our firefighter is going to pour that in. You're going to see what's going to happen. Remember, this is all steel and metal in a controlled environment. This is what you want for social media, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I want you to remember tonight, okay?
Are they cooking any food, Dad?
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Just burnt oil. Oh, look at that.
See that? Do you feel it? Feel the heat? Hear the crackling?
That's why you don't put the water on oil.
One more time.
Fun, I want them to do this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so you saw that, you felt it, you heard it. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you don't remember a thing tonight, never put water on there. I promise you, these are our firefighters with special gear on. If that was you in your clothing, I promise you, you'd be severely burned from every front orifice that's exposed to the fire.
Oh, using water to put on fire is not a good idea. I'm surprised. Oh, now what is this guy doing here? Is this some TikTok or? Oh, he's explaining how the sun rises and sets. Kinda makes sense. What do you think? Oh, share your thoughts about this. This is crazy, man. Oh, where did that guy get that theory? Oh, this must be a very wise person to think like this. Nice school of thoughts, man. Oh, you guys, what do you think about the sun and all these sunsets due to perspective? Makes me wonder about the things we were taught at school.
47 seconds later, the Fatman reached an altitude of about 1,600 feet. The Archie radar antenna emitting and reflecting the signal to the ground. These signals are used to detect the detonation altitude. The radar altimeters were used to reliably detect final altitude when the altimeters sense the correct height. Then the 32 exploding bridge wire detonators, simultaneously releasing electrical sparks. Due to this electrical spark, all of the explosives would go off simultaneously. The thick layer of the metal casing helps to create an implosion shock wave inside the casing. The medium-density aluminum pusher transfers the imploding shockwave. The shockwave then compresses the inner components, passing through a boron plastic shell. Then the shockwave transfers to a natural uranium tamper. And the sphere of plutonium would be compressed. In the middle of plutonium, two elements are called polonium and beryllium. Due to the compression, the two metals mix them together, and thereby releasing a burst of neutrons. Approximately 10 milliseconds later, the nuclear chain reaction occurred. One atom of plutonium is hit by a neutron. It splits into two, releasing energy, and it produces two neutrons, each of which goes on to react or split other atoms of plutonium.
If that's how a nuclear bomb works, it's very scary.
He had a lot of scientists that he was tight with. And that was one of the things that he did, was bring these scientists to that island. And he would have young girls on that island. But like, what's the end goal there? This is what I don't understand. And what's really crazy is Ghislaine Maxwell is in a minimum security prison. She
teaches yoga.
Is allowed to do yoga.
Yeah.
She's allowed to hang out and watch TV. She's watch Netflix. And
is she allowed to use email to send us the list?
That's what I was going to say. The list has not been released. Like, there is a fucking list. And this is not a mystery. It's not a mystery to the people that are
There's her
prosecuting
hippocampus.
her.
Pull out her hippocampus. Have Elon put that freaking thought reading.
Elon? Who's that? Is that
Elon
Elon's brother?
shit.
But Rylan wanted to swing. And as she was, because of the playground's haunted reputation, Ronnie jokingly pushed the empty swings next to her. It quickly became clear that it was no joking matter.
It was a gentle push, but like in this video, these swings kept going and moving faster and faster. And even when I looked at the swings while we were there, it looked like there was weight in the swings. Like how those rubber swings bend, it was like there was weight there.
I watched it pretty careful. A couple of the swings were getting lower. They were staying at the same height, which, physics will tell you that's not possible.
The baby swings were moving slower. And it seemed like the one swing to the right of my daughter, it seemed to be picking up speed, moving faster.
Perhaps even more revealing, 7-year-old Ryland seemed to be chatting with someone while swinging.
Hello, everybody. Ryland,
She felt like there was other kids.
hello, everybody.
She doesn't believe that they wanted to do her harm. They just wanted to play with her because they were lonely. And she was a kid.
Yo, man, is that true? Oh my god, that is very scary. Oh, I wouldn't imagine swinging with the ghosts or someone I know. Oh, this is a wonderful way of tying a tie. Do you say tying a tie or... Oh, this is interesting.
The dash cam catches something rather chilling. A man suddenly appears in the middle of the road. If you slow it down, it almost looks like the person materializes out of thin air.
This is old school, but you can ripen firm green tomatoes by wrapping them in paper and place them in a box in a dark, warm location. By doing this, your green tomatoes will store much longer and they will slowly ripen over time. And if you want it to ripen quickly, place them in a box with a banana or an apple. And for those smaller green tomatoes, you can use them to make pickles, salsa verde, or chutney. And if you did harvest green tomatoes that are a little bit softer and show signs of blush color, they can ripen naturally in your counter. So even though you harvested green tomatoes at the end of the season, don't worry because you can still use them or ripen them the old school way.
Benben pyramid has puzzled scientists for many years. The pyramid is made of black stone, but it is not an ordinary stone as its components cannot be found on Earth. The black ironstone specifically is only found in space meteorites. And here, the other puzzle appears because it's a very hard stone, so it's difficult to mold and dig this material. Though it's not difficult to break this stone, so how was it cut with so much accuracy in angles and deviations? How was it polished with such unique precision? As were these very delicate inscriptions on the sides of the pyramid, scientists found it impossible for any tool, old or new, to carve these inscriptions except using a laser cutting technology. Adding to its uniqueness, the black meteorite stone possesses a distinct composition that emits positive electromagnetic energy. This energy permeates its surroundings, inducing a sense of psychological comfort in those nearby and influencing human energy. The Benben pyramid continues to mystify us with its unexplained phenomenon.
The irony of history. Today, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak arrived at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, and as Biden, he expressed his solidarity with the Israeli people. Yet, let's rewind 77 years ago to 1946, and the same hotel was bombed by a group called the Irgun, which was a group led by the ex-Prime Minister Menachem Begin. All right? This act that they did resulted in about 90 people dying at the time. Back then, the British government labeled the Irgun as a terrorist organization and placed a bounty on its leaders, including Begin. Fast forward to today, and the British Prime Minister stands in that very hotel demonstrating solidarity with a nation whose foundations are intertwined with such terrorist events. I think the irony is very clear. As they say in England, that's the pot calling the kettle black. I'm going to leave you with this quote. Loyalty depends on personal interests.
We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object.
That was the pilot of American Airlines Flight 2292 after witnessing a mysterious object pass right by his aircraft.
UFOs, as we can see, come in many different sizes and shapes. Obviously, the classic round saucer shape is the most known. But we also have what are called cigar-shaped ships. They seem to be long, cylindrical.
So, you guys asked for it, and guess what? We're going to build a Kozyrev mirror, and we're going to do it right. If you're not familiar with the Kozyrev mirror, check out my video from the other day. It covers the basics of it. But essentially what it is an aluminum tube like you see behind me that a person sits in. There's also like a spiral shape based off the Fibonacci sequence. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to expand your consciousness. It's supposed to allow you to travel from the past throughout the present and into the future. It also can help with curing specific ailments like hypertension and other things. And supposedly it can help you see UFOs and communicate with entities, but I don't know. And I can't really wrap my head around how aluminum would cause an effect like this. I mean, aluminum, just aluminum. But I'm willing to test it. I'm open to everything. So as you can see here, there's a few different versions that we can build. The easiest one's going to be just your standard aluminum cylindrical tube. That's the one we're going to be building. We're not going to do the Fibonacci sequence one right here. And we're not going to do this one as well, because that combines the Fibonacci sequence for the design, and also it sits on a wooden platform that they're saying you rotate and enhances the effects. But look, if the cylinder doesn't work out the way we want to, or if it does work and we can get better results with the other models, we'll go to those. But it's a pretty simple design. So as you can see here, we just need aluminum alloy plates, 0.5 millimeters thick. It's got to be up to 280 centimeters high and 120 centimeters wide. Now it's calling for a ground surface and curvature, providing for focus at a distance of 50 centimeters from operating surface. It's not a very difficult design. We can just put a chair in the middle. One thing though is that in the description of the patent, it says 0.5 millimeters in thickness, but then here for figure 1, it says 1.5 millimeters thickness. So look, what we can do is we can build multiple sheets that can be stacked on the outside, so we can vary the thickness of the device. That being said, I've reached out to a metal fabricator this week, and they'll be getting back to me on Monday with the exact price for how much this is going to cost to build and engineer. It's pretty basic. I don't think it should be much, but the way I want to do this is I want everyone in on it, okay? So I want to crowdfund this. If everybody puts in $5, we can get this built. I'll be completely transparent. I'll share all receipts with you, quotes, invoices, you name it. It'll all be public, and everybody can contribute to it. I'll share the build, I'll share results, I'll share all that. And if you're in the local area, you can come test it out. And seeing as how we just moved into this warehouse and office building, I have plenty of space right now, so it's perfect. It's perfect for testing this thing out. Let me know if you guys are interested.
Yo, I wish he had that thing already and we see how it works. Like how we are seeing this guy here that is like floating on air, holding, what do you call this, spade? But is this real or is some movie stuff? Oh my god, this looks real. Oh man, you guys.
After being there, man, holy shit, I feel like people have no idea I didn't even know what the hell was going on until I went to Palestine and saw how crazy it was. But
what is it like? Give me your thoughts on your
So
experience.
Everyone mistakenly thinks that Hamas like controls Palestine. That's not true at all. There's 3 different areas that were drawn up with the original partition. It's the West Bank, which is totally under military rule by Israel, and then there's the Gaza Strip, which is like the open air prison, which they bomb the shit out of like every couple of years, and Hamas controls that area. And then there's Jerusalem, which is an international city center that both Arabs and Jews live in. But the West Bank has been occupied militarily since 1967, and it's complete martial law. There's checkpoints. All political parties are illegal. You can't, having a gun is like the least of it. You can't hold a flag. You can't belong to a political party. You literally can't do shit if you're a Palestinian. You just have to sit there and submit. And even if you share a photo of someone who was like killed by an Israeli soldier, you go to jail, and you go to jail for the amount of like months that,
what?
Yeah, based on the shares and likes of the photo, they'll penalize you more and put you in prison for longer and longer. I mean, I'll just tell you one story.
If you put a photo on social media, like you put
of someone who
on Facebook,
died, and they'll be like, you're sharing a martyr and inciting people to like commit suicide, like on behalf of Palestinians, you go to jail, and they put them in jail. There's 99.7% conviction rate. Kids are tortured. Kids are in prison. It is absolutely insane. We went to, the first day that we were there, we went to a funeral of some guy, some farmer who was shot by Israeli forces, and we went to the funeral. It was horrible. You know, all the women are wailing and crying, and as we're leaving, the Israeli forces had set up a checkpoint right outside of this dude's house and started tear gassing and shooting rubber bullets like at people who were simply attending the funeral, just to punish people for attending the funeral. We went to another girl's house named Aya, who got shot in the vagina for peacefully protesting at some protest, and they shot 200 people that day. One guy next to her died, another guy was paralyzed. They have a policy called shoot to cripple, where they shoot guys in the dicks. Yeah. It is fucking nuts, man. The West Bank is no joke. I thought that I was going to die several times. We were at this checkpoint going through Calandia, and there was this old man walking, like clearly drunk or something, and kind of like walking a little bit toward the checkpoint. They started shooting at him. Bullets are ricocheting off the thing. And my partner Mike, who was an invading soldier of Iraq, was just like, we're going to die. Like, they're shooting this guy. There's bullets ricocheting. It was absolutely insane. And as we go through the checkpoint, the soldier's like, hey, stay safe out there. And I was like, yeah, when you guys are arbitrarily shooting people. And the person who was driving us had just told us that a couple months prior to that, some woman, Palestinian woman, because you can't go to Jerusalem. Like, if you're Palestinian, there's like barely any Palestinians who are even allowed to go pray at the most holy site, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. You can't go to the beach. You're just completely constricted in a prison, and you can't travel. And he was just telling us that months before we went through this checkpoint, someone was going through the checkpoint because they got a permit to go into Jerusalem, which is like a lifetime golden ticket, like Willy Wonka. And they're walking and she just got executed. And then...
What?
Yeah, she just got executed, and she was bleeding out at this checkpoint, and her little brother tried to help her, and they shot him too. And they're like hiding the video of this.
But
and
why
this is
they
just a
shoot
day...
her?
Because they fucking hate Palestinians, and Palestinians are animals to these people. It's sick, man. It's sick. It's really, really sick, Joe. And I couldn't even get into Gaza. We were banned from going into this territory because I was told by the Israeli government that I was a propagandist and that I was like an enemy agent. And so I wasn't allowed to go into Gaza. So Gaza's hell, but the West Bank is under martial law and everything's illegal and you can't do a goddamn thing. And it's super cool. Like, we went to this place called Ramallah that was just like Oakland, where they're smoking weed. There's like openly gay people there. Like, it's just completely different than what people think of Palestine, you know?
People think of it as just a bunch of people with turbans on blowing themselves
and
up.
Hamas is like, yo, you elected Hamas. And like, well, Hamas doesn't want Israel to exist. It's like, well, actually, Hamas is controlling this one area for a reason, because it was built as this surplus when Israel was created. Millions of refugees were put miles away from the homes that they were ethnically cleansed from and put into refugee camps in Gaza. And when the Israeli military wanted more and more land, by the way, all settlements in Israel are illegal. All of them are illegal in the West Bank, but they just keep creating more and more and more. And we would go to these villages of just Arab people living in these villages, and the settlers will come. You have to be a fanatical fucking asshole to move from California to an Arab village in Palestine and set up a goddamn tractor trailer and just live on top of their home. And they can have giant machine guns. They can firebomb you. They can shoot you. They can beat you up. They're protected by the state. You can go with a tractor trailer, set up a home. The state immediately runs a water line, a power line, and a military outpost to protect you. And the Arabs are just sitting there waiting to get killed or attacked. It's absolutely insane. And the way home demolitions work are insane too, because like, they either deliver a piece of paper with a rock over it, and they're like, here, if you find it, good for you, and if you don't, then you're screwed. And that's if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, your home will be invaded by settlers, and you'll be forced out of your home. There's videos of this all over the internet of like groups of settlers going in and literally taking over Arabs' homes, and then they just are forced out. It's crazy, man. It's completely way crazier than I ever could have imagined.
How long were you over there for?
A month.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were simply, and people want to quabble about like, oh, it's not apartheid. There are different fucking license plates for Arabs and Jews. Like, you cannot go to areas. Like, Israeli soldiers were arbitrarily set up checkpoints and just shut you out of your neighborhood and force you to walk 3 miles to your home. Like, they can do whatever they want because you are under martial law. And you have no mobility, like you have no freedom. So it's really bad. And we just did a whole series on the Empire Files talking about how Israel was created up until today, and we go over like the settlements, the demolitions, the jail, and why I think there's no hope from within Israeli society to change. Because it's becoming a more theocratic state and a more fascist state as it grows, because you have to be to maintain this Jewish supremacist state. You have to be like more fascist and more controlling and more militaristic in the way that you rule society, just like the U.S. I mean, people who were considered outlier fringe assholes 30 years ago are now like the Christian evangelicals are now in power. it's really, really crazy. I mean, it's not the same because Israel is a white nationalist, like ethno-supremacist state. And you see the way that they treat Ethiopians and Israelis. It seems like a lot of Israelis, well, think about this. In order to really reject the notion, it's like rejecting being an American. It's like such a hard thing for people to really accept.